Hello, the Rific Gamer. What's going on? I'm doing good. I got off of work early. It's Friday. Get to play some AC Origins. Might be the best game of the franchise. How about you, Rific Gamer? It's definitely up there. Yeah, it's definitely up there. It was, I had some rough times with it on my first playthrough. I had really bad bug. I ran into a really terrible bug where I lost all of my inventory. Like, I don't know, right before the third act, I think. So right as the story is starting to really pick up, you start to unravel the mystery of Cleopatra and all that. No, it was awful, and the only way I was able to save my playthrough was by... Where am I? Am I near the Hippodrome? I've got a really good relationship with the comm dev team. Hello, Vanade. Vanade, I think that's how you say it. I never know exactly how to say it because I always just read it in my head. But I was only able to save my playthrough because I have a good relationship with the comm dev team, and they were able to give me some free Helix credits basically so I could rebuy some weapons because I just didn't have anything. I didn't have shields, I didn't have bows, I didn't have swords. Completely unequipped. I just had nothing. And so they were able to help with that, and I was able to fix it by just buying a few Helix weapons, and from there I was fine. I was able to get back on the grenade. Vanade. Got it. Well, I've been pronouncing shortened for vanadium. I don't know what vanadium is. I'm gonna be honest. But that's cool. I'm glad I was able to hear what it sounds like because I've just been pronouncing it as Vanade in my head for, I don't know, years now. Ooh. Speaking of names, I want to change my online name. I don't like it anymore. Whoa. Turl. It just sounds terrible. It just sounds like it doesn't make any sense. Did I already meet with the queen? I have 2 game saves on here that are at the exact same time. So I can't remember which one I played most recently. I streamed Origins, I don't know, a month ago, I think, when Valhalla was announced. Yeah, it's always interesting to see how people pick their names. I don't like my name anymore. I think it sounds silly. I don't know what I would use as an online name if I had to re-choose at this point. I'd probably just use my own name, just my first name. But you know, you have all these accounts with your name on it, and like that's how people know you by that name. I just don't like it anymore, but it's alright. It is what it is. I'm just glad I don't have like a really terrible name that like, I don't know, that I chose while I was in like middle school or something like that. Like I've had some, yeah. The Rific Gamer. Yeah, that's like pretty much how all of it is. Whoa. Your mom's. Yeah, basically, like I've had terrible names like that, like Ask Your Mom. Like I think that was a name I had at one point. It's just so cringe. So I'm just glad I don't have that, or like I don't know. Like some streamers have like just the worst names, and I'm like, oh man, like when you turn like 30, that name just doesn't work anymore. I feel like I am completely getting lost. I mean, that's the cool thing about this game though, is it's like, it's really awesome to get lost because the world is just so good. What's the origin of Turl? Okay, so Turl is... I encourage everyone to go Google it because it'll do a better job of explaining it. But Turl is a mythological kind of eagle bird. Like it's a massive like bird with like a 9-foot wingspan. Like it's mythological, basically, and it comes from the Myanmar people, which were an ethnicity, I guess, or culture based out of like Hungary. And growing up, I was always told that my ancestors were from Hungary, and so I always thought that was like a cool connection. Like, oh, this, like, you know, all of the Assassin's Creed names are based out of, like, usually based on like some sort of bird or flight name, like Ezio or Altair, or there's like a handful of those. Very on brand, yeah. Like I thought it was so clever. Like, oh, it's such a sweet one. But it sounds silly, like in English. Like it just doesn't sound good. Like Turl, it's difficult to pronounce even though it's 5 letters. And people don't know how to pronounce it when they read it. But anyways, one of the other reasons I like the changes, I don't think I actually have any Hungarian ancestry. So the whole connection to me just doesn't exist. Because when I've done like those DNA tests, none of them pointed to Hungary at all. The only evidence that says I have Hungarian ancestry is on the immigration papers from my great grandpa. It says he came from Austria-Hungary. So, well, no, it didn't say that. It says it's from Austria. But at the time, Austria-Hungary might have still been like in existence. I can't remember right off the top of my head. So, like, maybe he came from the Austrian side rather than the Hungarian side. So, then that makes more sense because the DNA tests I've had tell me it's like all German. There's not a lot of like Hungarian in it. Austria, I'm pretty sure, borders where the region of where my ancestry is from. So, yeah, Turl is distinct though. I find it cool. I did too. Like I just thought, I don't know, like when I decided on it, I thought it was pretty cool. And the older you get, the more you just kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's not the best. And then there's like this whole problem of, at one point, like I don't want to call them Nazis, but like there's like a far right kind of political group in Hungary, and they use the turtle a lot as like a symbol for their political group, and it just kind of just isn't, I don't know, in a modern setting, I don't know if it like really, I don't know if it's like the best idea, but so, but at the same time, it's like they don't own that symbol. They didn't come up with it in the same way that, like, you know, far-right Americans don't own the bald eagle or the American flag or what have you. So, but yeah. I don't know, I just kind of find online names just kind of funny in general. And then, like, I have friends that, like, when they see my name, like, real life friends are like, what is that? And I'm just like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just a name I came up with. So anyways, on a slight tangent, Origins isn't my number one, mainly due to some... You know what, that was kind of my feeling since it came out. It's like, it's really good, and it's really fun to play, and the world's awesome, and Bayek is pretty great. But the story is not good. I don't want to call it one of the worst in the franchise, because it's got some great moments, and like Bayek carries the whole thing, but it really is not good. Like, his whole character arc is like really shallow, or like barely exists. And then, like, it's totally fucked up in the DLC. His relationship with Aya is, like, incredibly underdeveloped to the point that it, like, maybe doesn't even need to exist in the story. The like, secret villain at the end is awful. Like, whoever is revealed to be, like, the guy, the lion, I guess, is like just somebody that passes through at some point in like the middle of the story that you see for 2 seconds. So it's like, it's not even impactful when it's like, oh, it was him. He is the head of the snake. It's like, who cares? You don't even know who he is. Why should I care? It's not like in AC3, it's like Charles Lee is like very clearly like the villain, and maybe it's not like a surprise or anything. But like Hatham is also a villain, and his like kind of turn at the end kind of comes as a surprise. Like, we mostly knew it wasn't gonna work out when they tried to make an allegiance, even if it was just temporary. But I think I just played this on the other save. Yeah, I have 2 saves that are the exact same point in the game, and I like don't know what to do with either of them. I kind of want to just like before Valhalla comes out, maybe just like start a playthrough and stream it all. Oh, somebody sent me a friend request on Epic. Versus Orodos, and then it was Septimius, and then Flavius. Yeah, that's the worst part. A character hadn't even talked to him before. And, like, I think it's fine to be like, no, the mystery keeps unraveling, and it keeps, like, going further, and you keep seeing that the snake is more than just a guy. Like, I think that's nice. I think it's nice to be like it just expands, and, like, each time he takes out a target, he's figuring out, like, this is... You know, it's not quite what it seems. And then, like I know Flavius is the real villain, but it's actually Cleopatra. She betrays him and Aya. Her betrayal has the most emotional impact, I guess. Like, you want to get whoever, like, killed Kemu and led to his death, but, like, it really stings, because Cleopatra was supposed to be on your side, but I mean, it didn't surprise me. The annual marathon. I've tried to do parts of the marathon. It's just not. It's not possible. It just really isn't. Like, it asks you to do like a sequence a day, and then especially when you get to like Origins, it's just not possible at all. And like, one thing I'm finding out just going back, Bayek killed Kimmy. All Flavius did was make him slip. I don't think it necessarily needs to be addressed. I think it's kind of like Bayek already feels the guilt of what was done to his son. Like, he feels like he failed his son, and like actually being the one to kill him was definitely part of that. I forgot to do this. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed one of these in like a year, so I kind of forgot how you play this version. I've been playing the Ezio games. But like, he already feels the guilt, and like that's basically what's driving it. Like, he keeps talking about how he's there for vengeance, but like really he feels like he failed as a father. And like, that's what his character is about, is like trying to come to terms with the fact that with his failures as a protector. Hey, what? Oh shit. Here we go. I'm still getting used to the No. No! Yeah, I'm playing very terribly because I haven't really played in a while. And I'm very used to playing Destiny right now because that's what I've been playing for like the past 3 weeks. So every time I pull out the bow here, I'm like expecting it to work exactly like the bow does. It does not. Origins bow is good, but Destiny bow is just like masterclass. Maybe I need to adjust my sensitivity is. I think that's partially what the DLC is about, is like coming to terms with like the role he had to play in it, in his son's death. Yeah, and I get what you're saying. Like, that's the story is not like, it's not necessarily well executed at all. Yeah, it's not very good, which sucks because Bayek is like by far my most favorite recently. Like, I like Ezio because, you know, he's someone that you just know so well and you spend so much time with him. And like, Connor is very like noble and honest and like does the right thing no matter what, even though he's constantly betrayed by everybody. And Bayek's like he's a family man, but he's like he's got this big darkness kind of invading every aspect of his life, and he can't really escape it. And a large part of that is realize is not necessarily like the people that caused the harm to him, but in large part of just kind of how he views himself and views his failure. So yeah, there should have been more about that, I think. It's only kind of like really addressed in that final scene. Oh no, I don't. Yeah, thank you.
I will go to the Sarajina capital.
See you ever no peace. My biggest problem is like has less to do with like the story and like the villain and like the underdeveloped relationships. Like that stuff is like disappointing to see, but the worst part is like how this game has the name Origins on it, and it's like just barely skates by as an origin story. Like it barely establishes some of the things that the assassins do, like the hood, and the hidden blade is very good. The assassin symbol is great, but like all of that stuff is mostly kind of like aesthetics. Like all of those things were chosen not because like they were cool or something. Like they're all informed by like the philosophy of the Brotherhood, and like as cool as it is to see them kind of just happen to like find these things, like they most of the implementations feel natural, and like they didn't. So apparently something went wrong behind the scenes during the game's script process. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, no one really knows what happened, but it seems like that game had to went through a lot of turmoil because it just. And then like there's voiceovers that suggest like Aya was a much bigger part of the story at one point. Like there's a lot of VO that's used. Like if she makes it, someone's been able to get her avatar outside of like the main sections that she's allowed to be in. Like, and then she has all this VO for like stuff that happens outside the world, like when she sees a sandstorm or something. So obviously they recorded it because they thought she would be out in the open world at one point, and then that didn't happen. Like otherwise, why would they even bother with that voiceover? Just to have it? I don't know, but and it's like Darby was on the project, or he was just overseeing it, but then when I did a studio visit, when we went to the 2017 studio visit, it was very clear that he wasn't like an active creative lead on the project. It seemed like he was working on something else. I only got to speak to him briefly, so can't talk. I thought I'd be able to like kind of talk more about the studio visit, but it's like it's hard to know what is under a non-disclosure agreement and what's not. But I do know that Darby eventually left the project, but it was on his own terms. Like he wasn't taken off. I know that as much. Like he wasn't fired from Assassin's Creed. Yeah. Try not to speculate it. I mean, yeah, maybe he wasn't, maybe he was. I try not to speculate too much because it's all just speculation at that point, and I don't want to like give the impression that I know something people don't or something. So, like, I don't know what happened. So, I'm glad he is back for Valhalla 2. I'm very excited. I'm more excited about who's working on the game rather than like necessarily the game itself. Like I'm not super into Vikings, so I've been like kind of reading up on stuff, and I watched the Last Kingdom, which is very good. Everyone should go watch Last Kingdom. Uhtred kind of sucks, but like all of the side characters are pretty great, and like especially King Alfred, who I know is going to have a big part in Valhalla. He's obviously a very main. I don't know if I'd call him it sounds like he's not necessarily the main villain, but I think he's going to be like that Cleopatra, like where he's very much a part of the story and isn't necessarily on Eivor's side. Cleopatra good. No, I think that. So obviously, Alfred is going to be is going to be in direct conflict with Viking clans, whether that includes Eivor's or not. Like maybe they make an allegiance. I don't know. That did happen. But I think his betrayal as a villain is going to be a lot more nuanced than, say, someone like Cesare or Charles Lee, who are just mustache twirling and just really just evil.
Are you Nisamun? Are you alright?
I'm happy, yes.
So
What happened?
someone more like a Haytham or someone more like a
Yes. Okay,
maybe like a Al-Mualim, or I don't know, just someone that's a lot more understandable. Like in The Last Kingdom, King Alfred is,
Delivery, I imagine.
try not to spoil too much, but he is both an ally and an enemy of Uhtred, and their relationship seems like it like constantly shifts from trust to distrust to loyalty to disloyalty to favors to like even in some cases friendship. It's a very like complicated relationship, and you never really necessarily know exactly how it's going to turn out between them two. And I don't want to say that that is going to be like the model for Valhalla's story, but I would not be surprised if it kind of came across pretty similarly. Like King Alfred's, as a king, his job was to protect the kingdom of Wessex from Viking invaders. And so, like, he is just kind of trying to do right by his people, right? Like, he's just trying to be a good king and make sure that, you know, they aren't, that his people aren't. What is that? Okay, that was just kind of some sort of bug. Like, I don't necessarily think we're going to be allies with Alfred, but I think there's going to be at some point some sort of understanding between Eivor and Alfred. Like, it both just kind of seems like everyone's out there to, like, make a place for their people. Because that seems like what's Eivor's goal is, like, we couldn't stay where we were for whatever reason. I'm assuming food, or maybe that's just part of it, or like maybe, I don't know, maybe Vikings came in and destroyed their land, or it sounded mostly like it's just inhospitable, so it's just not like a good place to live, and they kind of used like it's just not worth staying there anymore. So Cleopatra good? Maybe. Like, there was a lot of service to Cleopatra, and there was, like, a lot of, like... She kind of saw herself as a god, and Bayek and Aya were, like, not necessarily bought on board, but, or, like, they weren't necessarily on board with that, but they kind of went along with it because they had mutual goals, I guess. At least Bayek was not necessarily on board with it.